Hi friends, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to talk about my experience with the Article Soma Sofa Bed, which is a sofa bed couch that we purchased over 5 years ago. And I thought it'd be fun to take some notes so you can follow along my thought process to take you through what I was looking for when I was shopping for a new couch, what my buying experience looked like, some pros and cons, and then my final thoughts on this couch now that we've had it for over 5 years. All right, so I'm going to use my traveler's notebook. This is a Camel color in the standard size. I got these inserts in a set of 3 directly from Galen Leather earlier this year, and I've decorated the covers with some washi tape and scrap paper. And it is a blank notebook, which I don't love, but it does come with a few gridded pieces of paper. So I typically use either this paper to write on or one of my pencil boards, which I don't have on me right now. In terms of my pen, I am going to use my Sailor Pro Gear Slim Shikiori Seasonal Festival Series. This is the Kiku color in a fine nib. And the ink I'm going to use is the Dominant Industry and Wonder Pens collaboration or exclusive, and this is the Ginger Chicken color. All right, so just to give you a little bit of context, the couch that I'm talking about, if you were to look on the website today, it's the Soma Left Sofa Bed in the color Dawn Gray. I purchased it in June 2018. At the time, I paid $21.99, and that's Canadian plus tax. And I took a look on the website, and I think now it retails for $32.99 plus tax. And that's Canadian. So it's gone up quite a bit in price, but I'm sure inflation has played a role in that in some way. So that's the couch that I'm going to be talking about today. So I'm going to give you a little bit more context and what we were looking for at the time. Okay, so the first thing was, or the couch that we were using prior to that was the Ikea Ektorp 3-seat. And over the time that we had the couch, it had a lot of good things going for it. It was easy to clean because you could take off the entire cover and wash it. So we really liked that aspect of it. But despite the fact that it was a 3-seater, Mike and I couldn't really comfortably both lounge on it. And over time, it became really misshapen because both of us would sit on either end of the couch, leaving the middle cushion relatively unused, and it was just very lumpy, and you couldn't really lie down on the couch. And if you sat on the couch for too long, you would eventually sink because none of the cushions would stay in place. And so we decided to upgrade the couch. So a couple of other things that we were considering was, first of all, we wanted more lounge space so that both of us could be on the couch at the same time. I was very excited about the idea of getting an L couch. Mike wasn't such a fan of the L couch, but I was really excited about it, so I pushed pretty hard for that. We were also looking for something that could double as a sleeping space for guests. And this is because most of Mike's family lives in a different country. And so when we do have guests, they tend to stay for quite a long time because they're traveling pretty far. And so when we were looking for apartments, we considered getting a 2-bedroom so we could have an extra room for guests. But honestly, it was out of our budget. And because we were both working in offices at the time, we didn't see the need to have an extra bedroom. And so we decided instead to invest in a couch that was comfortable enough that it could easily be converted into a really comfortable sleeping space. As is true for the majority of apartments in Toronto, our apartment had one closet in the entire home, and that was in the bedroom. So we definitely wanted some extra storage space if possible. And so our IKEA couch didn't have anything. So we were looking for some extra storage. I wanted something that was easy to clean. So something I really loved about our IKEA couch was the fact that you could take the entire cover off. You could take all the pillowcases or the cushion covers off and wash all of that. And so I was ideally looking for something that was similar. And I was also looking for long-term durability. So when we bought the IKEA couch, we bought it at the time because it was really all we could afford, and we were able to go to IKEA that day and just pick the most basic bed frame, which we still have, the cheapest couch, and a dining table set. Because we were investing in a new couch, I was looking for something that was relatively neutral and that I felt I could live with for a really long time and also wouldn't break. So I was willing to spend a bit more money than IKEA, but I just wanted the quality to come along with that. So now I'm going to talk about our buying experience. In case you didn't know, Article is, at least to my knowledge, purely online. So yeah, I did a lot of online research. I also contacted Article's customer service, and I found that they were very quick to respond, really helpful. And when I reached out to them, they actually offered to send me fabric swatches of the couch. I remember my preference was to get something a little more off-white or cream-colored or beige, despite the fact that that probably is a magnet for dirt. But the only colors they had were these 2 grays and a dark blue. I think, yeah, so this was the midnight blue, which is still available. This is the dawn gray, which we ended up getting. And they also had something called twilight gray. And so I guess the one thing that I really didn't love at the time was just the fact that they had only so many swatches to choose from. I know other brands allow you to pick, like there's a much larger selection of fabric to choose from. So that was difficult. At the time, I didn't. Blue is kind of out of the question because I was not a fan of blue furniture. Ironically, now if I were to choose, I might have chosen the dark blue couch. Although since I just painted a very large portion of our home in a dark blue, maybe not. But yeah, these were the 3 options, and I ended up going for this one. But I really liked the fact that they provided these samples, and I know that maybe this is a common thing in the design world, I suppose, but this really helped when I was making my selection. So I really liked that they sent that. Another thing that helped with the decision was the fact that the office I worked in actually had a lot of their furniture. And so it was kind of an unintentional showroom in a way, but I happened to know that a lot of furniture was from Article. And so even though the couch that I was looking at wasn't in the office, because why would an office have a pullout couch? I did find that all of the other furniture that they had in the office was really comfortable. And so that helped me feel a bit more comfortable buying from this company. Okay, so I talked about fabric swatches. I also opted to pay for delivery. At the time, I remember thinking, I'm spending thousands of dollars on this couch. I can't believe they're also charging an additional fee for delivery. But it was worth it because the couch is quite big and heavy. This was pre-2020, so they brought it up to our apartment and we were living on the 21st floor at the time. They brought it in, they set it all up exactly where we wanted it. And it was just such a great experience that I remember thinking it was well worth the $99 that they charged at the time. I also appreciated that they had a 30-day satisfaction guarantee, just in case we didn't like it. And I think that's still the case now. And the shipping at the time, this may not be relevant, but it was really fast shipping. So I ordered June 22nd of 2018 and it arrived, or it was shipped on the 25th. Okay. So that's a little bit about my buying experience. Overall, it was a pretty good experience considering there wasn't a physical retail store that I could go to and talk to someone and sit in the couch and try it out and really visualize it in the space. So I feel like they did the best they could given the fact that they were purely online. And whether this is true or not, I think I bought into the idea of saving money buying, directly online as opposed to buying from a store where they would have to factor in the cost of like renting a physical space. I don't know how I feel about that now. I think Mike and I have agreed that if we ever were to buy a new couch, we would have to try it out in person first. But this is just where our heads were at in 2018. Okay, now I'm going to talk about some of the pros of the couch. So the first is that I personally felt after all of my research that it was quite affordable. So it wasn't top of the line. Like I had some friends recommend other brands to me, and for a sofa bed that was larger than like a single size was just so much more expensive that it was completely out of our price range. And so the options really to me were to buy from a place like Ikea. They do have an L couch sofa bed, which my sister actually had, and Mike and I slept in for up to a week because they were living in New York at the time, and whenever we would visit them, we would sleep on that couch. And it was a pretty good couch, but it was smaller and a lot less comfortable. So our options were to spend a lot less at Ikea for something that functioned similarly, or it was to spend a lot more. Article just felt very much like middle ground, a little bit of a step up from Ikea, but not so expensive that we would go into debt buying this couch. And so I felt really good about the price. I mean, now it's a lot more expensive, so I don't know if I would spend $3,200 plus or $3,300 plus tax now. But at the time, $21.99 seemed a lot more reasonable. This couch really delivered in the storage aspect. The lounger portion is actually quite wide. It's so much wider than the IKEA L couch that we were comparing it to. And you can fit a ton of stuff under there. So we typically store kids' toys and games for when my niece and nephew come over. We also store extra bedding. There have been times where I've stored candle supplies when I was running my candle business. So yeah, awesome storage. It really helped, especially in our other apartment when we only had one other closet. This couch was extremely comfortable. So the cushions were quite firm, and they I would say they've held up a lot better than the IKEA couch that we had. So the IKEA couch, within a year, it was already starting to sag and, become really lumpy. Whereas we've had this couch for over 5 years, and I would say for the most part, it's pretty firm and it's quite comfortable. The bed is something that really surprised us. So it was using one of those memory foam mattresses from Endy. And a couple of times, like over 2020 when we were in lockdown, Mike and I would sometimes sleep out in our living room on this sofa bed just to change things up because we were going a little stir crazy. And I had some of the best sleeps on that bed. I don't know. I guess maybe it was the memory foam. I'm not really too sure. But honestly, we were blown away by how comfortable it was. And we've had guests tell us that it is an extremely comfortable sleep. So for that reason, I have really loved the bed because it really did feel like a really good option for guests, especially ones that are staying for a long time. So the sleeping space is amazing. I just want to actually spend a bit more time on this piece, on the sleeping space, because something that really bothered me about the IKEA L couch sofa bed was the way it worked was part of the couch was part of the bed, if that makes sense. So where you were sitting on, that was one side of the bed. And then basically you would pull out the bottom and pull up a second cushion, and then that would make it so you would almost have like a double bed. It was really compact, and I can see why this couch does so well in condo spaces. I think within a year, the pull-out contraption was already starting to fall apart, so that wasn't great. And also because the half of the mattress was where people were sitting, it was a lot more worn in than the part that you would pull out to complete the bed. And so if you were sleeping on the bed, it was just a very uneven experience, where I remember there were a lot of times that I would end up rolling and waking up in the crack between the two cushions. And so I would say overall it was not the kind of couch that would stand the test of time, or it was very durable. And so I really appreciated the fact that the part that you sleep in is completely separate from the part that you sit on. Another pro for me was good customer service. I reached out to them a couple of times before I made the purchase. As I mentioned, they sent me the swatches. And then about 6 months after receiving the couch, I noticed that the fabric was starting to, I think it's called pill, you were getting all those little, fuzzy bits. And so I reached out to them, and they offered to refund me $50 and sent me a link to a fabric shaver that they recommended that I try buying. And they also extended my warranty by an extra year without me having to pay anything, or without me really having to ask. So I thought that was really great that they, kind of stood by this couch even, several months after I received it. So I really liked that. I also really liked the fact that it was detachable, because when we moved to our new home, the living spaces in our new home are a lot smaller than they were in the apartment. Most people in our area have had to actually sell their couches when they move in because they won't fit up the stairs. And so I was really nervous that our couch wasn't going to fit, but because it was detachable, we were able to bring it up. And despite the fact that the couch is still too big for the space, which is a story for another day, it was just nice that we didn't have to, invest in a new couch and spend a lot of money before we were really ready to do so. And the last thing that I'll say, and I know this may not be, I don't know if this is still the case, but at the time we had a really good shipping and delivery service. Okay, so now I'm going to touch on some cons. Okay, so the first one is that it was online only. Honestly, I think if The office that I was working at the time didn't have couches from this brand. I think it would have been really difficult for me to feel comfortable spending so much money on furniture that I had never sat in or never seen in person. I realize now Article is kind of all over the internet, and there are so many people that are, talking about Article furniture, but that comes from the perspective of getting the furniture from day one and, really talking about how gorgeous it looks or, how it fits in the space. But I think the price point of the couch and the fact that I was more concerned about understanding how it would stand the test of time is what would make me more cautious about buying something online in the future, unless I had testimonials from people I knew or if I were able to see it in person. So to me, I still consider that a con because I did have options to get a feel for the brand and their products in person. So it wasn't really like a pure online experience. So yeah, that was still a con for me. And then I would say this couch was somewhat difficult to clean. So it did bother me, and I was aware of this before I bought it, and I bought it anyway. But I really liked how the IKEA couch came with a cover that was made to fit and that was machine washable. And I also really like how IKEA has the option of buying different couch covers. And the only thing that I can actually take out and wash in our laundry machine are the couch cushion covers. But that big long couch that you sit on, you can't remove. And then the lounger, you can't remove any of that. And so it has made it challenging to clean. I'm also going to go ahead and say that it was somewhat durable. The issues that we've come up with over the years, the first one is the pilling that I mentioned. I did appreciate that they gave us a refund to put towards a fabric shaver. I personally didn't find that it made that much of a difference. Maybe I should have done more, but overall, I think I just kind of gave up on it, and I've just accepted that our couch has some like fuzzies. I'll say the cushions have held up better than the IKEA couch. I mean, it's been more than 5 years compared to the, 2-ish years that we had the IKEA couch. And the cushions, like the back cushions, are a little bit lumpy at this point, but we have been setting up the couch with them, sort of upside down to try to reshape the cushions a bit. The cushion that you sit on, I find, is quite worn in. It's not terrible, and you don't end up sinking in the couch like the IKEA couch that we had. But it's definitely worn in. Same thing with the lounger. There are certain parts that are just a lot more worn in than the rest of it. But, I guess that's to be expected for a couch that is used on a daily basis. And then the major thing that I like least about the couch, and I'll get into this point a little more in a sec, but I'll just say there was a wire that came out of the cushion that ended up tearing a hole into the fabric of the couch, like the inner couch arm, and didn't love that. That brings me to the point of the fact that it is slightly challenging to set up the bed. So the IKEA comparison, it was super easy to set up the bed. With the Article couch, the cushion that you sit on is one long cushion, which is good because it prevented the bottom cushions from, coming out of place when you're sitting on it. But it was also quite large and awkward to manage in a small space if you are short and you have short arms like me. At some point, I don't know when this happened, but when you're putting the bed back, you have to make sure that you lift out this cushion completely, because a lot of people, like our guests who stay and ourselves included, we would start to lift this bed and this would end up getting wedged in between the like the couch back and the bed. And I don't know, it is kind of hard to explain, but this thing was just so awkward and heavy that you would think it would just be easier to leave it there. But unfortunately, I think doing that pushed on this cushion somehow and contributed to this wire sticking out, which eventually ripped a hole into our couch. And so the couch itself functions just fine, but you do have to be really careful about the wire. We always have to warn our guests to not hurt themselves. And obviously I would prefer to have a couch that didn't have like a giant wire sticking out. So that's probably my biggest complaint about the couch, but I'll also take some responsibility in understanding that had we always cleared the cushion and, never really let it get jammed in between when we were trying to put the bed back, maybe that would have never happened. So I didn't complain to customer service about it because I think it was past our warranty when I noticed it anyway, and we have lived with it since, but it is annoying. We were able to get a wire cutter and cut down the wire so it wouldn't stick out, and then we've, covered the hole with duct tape, which is obviously not like a permanent solution, but it's kind of helped a little bit. The other thing is that I would say it has a really large footprint. So it is quite a big couch. And when we moved into our current home, our living space is a lot smaller than the living space that we had in our apartment. And so we've tried several different configurations, but because of the way because it's like an L shape that is not reversible, like you can't switch where the lounger is, we had to get creative. Like our current layout is actually where we've separated the two pieces and we've almost turned it into two separate couches, which has kind of taught us that if we were to buy a couch again in the future, we might not get an L couch again because it's just a little too hard to configure in your space if you're ever needing to make a change. And then I guess the last thing I will say is if I were to choose a couch today based on what my preferences are, I wouldn't choose a couch as big and boxy and modern as this one. It is, as I mentioned, it's a big footprint and it's a lot of gray. So basically our living room just feels very cold and gray, and I don't love it. It doesn't really fit the rest of the living space, and it's a pretty open living space. So the living room is probably my least favorite space on our main level, which is why I've never really shown it. I'm still thinking about how I might warm up the space without spending a ton of money on a new couch. Yeah, I'm trying to live with the decision that we made because we bought this couch with the intention of keeping it for a very long time, and I would love to be creative with working with the couch as opposed to just getting rid of it and getting a whole new couch altogether just because it doesn't match the vibe that I'm going for. So one of the ways that I've tried to tackle it is I've been working on adding color through this crochet blanket that I've been working on all year, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a different video if you're interested. Just trying to find ways to add color that doesn't feel too tacky and hopefully doesn't require a lot of money. So in terms of final thoughts, I would say that this couch met our functional needs very well. It's extremely comfortable. Our guests love it. Mike and I love lying on it. It's very comfortable and tons of storage. In our current home, we also lack closet space and we lack storage options. So just having that extra large area to put things in, like our extra bedding and, toys and things like that, has just been so helpful for us. So it really checks all the boxes that, I was looking for at the time. And it's pretty durable compared to, I don't have a huge basis of a comparison, but I would say it's durable. And if we hadn't been as careless about the cushion cover, not letting that get pinched in between the pull-out bed and the couch, I don't think we would have had that issue with the wire. So I will say that was a little bit of user error on our part. And overall, it's quite a durable couch, and I could imagine us using it for another, like, it's not at a place where we need to desperately replace it. So I would say, I'm pretty pleased with the durability. So I didn't know what to call this next thing, but I would say in terms of fit, I have to say it doesn't really feel like it fits our current home. You know, style-wise, I personally would prefer something a little softer, probably still neutral to be safe, but maybe like a lighter color or a warmer color. And it's just too big. So if we were buying a couch for our current home now, I would probably not consider this couch, simply because it really, feels like it eats up our living space, and it really reduces our options for other furniture. Like if we wanted, say, to have a dining table, it just doesn't feel like we could fit a decent sized dining table because our couch feels like it just swallows up our entire living space. Because we already made that investment, and I'm trying to be wise with where we spend our money in the home, it's one of those difficult situations where we don't need a new couch, and it's definitely more in the want territory, where I would say I would like to have a new couch. I would want to have a new couch, but it's not necessary. So overall, I would say if you like the design and you are in need of more storage and a comfortable sleeping option for yourself, or even guests that are coming over for a long period of time, and you have the space for it, I would recommend this couch. Understandably, it is a lot more money, and I really don't know what it would compare to, because like I said, I haven't really done a lot of cost comparisons in over 5 years. So maybe there are other options that are better quality or better design options at a better price. But yeah, I would say overall, I think it was a solid purchase, and I don't have any regrets on buying it. And I think for now, we're going to stick with it and do our best to work with it, because it's pretty decent quality. So those are all my thoughts today. I have been talking for over an hour. I hope you enjoyed this video and different format. If you've had any experiences with article furniture over a longer period of time, I'd love to hear what your experiences have been with your article furniture, if you have experience with it. If you have any questions for me, feel free to leave a comment below, and I'll try to answer as best I can. Otherwise, if you're still here, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.